What's up, Fit2? My name is DJ Scott, and this is Vicarious View. And today we're on the third video of a series I'm calling the Weight Loss Discussion, where my goal is to provide you with the information you need to have an informed conversation about weight loss. So far, we've covered calories and macros, and all that's great. But if you made it to this point, you're probably wondering, well, how? Like, I get what calories are, and I understand how my body uses macros, but how do I understand how many calories I should be eating in a day? How do I get my client to realize the amount of calories that they're eating is affecting their weight loss? Simply, how do we even track all of these calories? And more importantly, how do we get all this information to work for us? If you find yourself asking any of these questions, please stay tuned because today I'm going to provide you with my answers. Let's get it. Okay, so first off, let's talk about how much. Like, how many calories should I be eating in a day? To be completely honest, this is almost an impossible answer to answer accurately from person to person. And we'll get into why that is, but before we do, I wanted to give you some of the baseline information first. So we're going to take a moment to look at some of the numbers that some of the prominent institutions provide us with. The Institute of Medicine tells us that out of all the calories we eat in a day, 45 to 65% of those should be carbs, 10 to 35% should be proteins, and 20 to 35% should be fats. But then we have another recommendation that gives it to us in grams. And it says that we should eat 130 grams of carbs a day, around 35 to 55 grams of protein, and 13 to 18 grams of fat. Now, although these recommendations are a great place to start off, they are just that, recommendations. They might not be what's optimal for you. Your age, your sex, how much you move, how often you move, even the type of movement can affect these numbers pretty drastically. So this is why we're actually going to switch over to talking about a calorie calculator, because this can actually help us get a better understanding of how many calories we should consume in a day. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. So what we're looking at here is a calorie calculator, and I left a link in the description for anybody who wants to follow along, or you can just come back to this section whenever you're ready. What you'll notice is that it's already pre-filled out, and it's pretty close to what my numbers are, but we're going to switch this up. So let's say we were talking to a client, and she is a female client. She's 27 years old. She's around 5'5", and she's weighing it at 175 pounds. All that stuff's easy information to get, but the next part is where we have to be honest, because this is where people tend to stretch their truth a little bit. So as a trainer, you might have to do a little bit of prying here. So if you look underneath the calculate section, this is actually going to help us out for the activity section. Here you'll notice, as I highlight it, it defines what exercise, intense exercise, and very intense exercise is. For exercise, it says 15 to 30 minutes of elevated heart rate activity. For intense, it says 45 to 120 minutes of elevated heart rate activity. And for very intense, it says 2+ hours. So for this, if we're talking to our client and she says, yeah, I normally spend about an hour at the gym, it's our job to go off that and say, okay, well, how much of that time are you actually at an elevated heart rate? And if she is pretty good at looking back at those things and being honest about it, likelihood she'll tell us that, well, most of the time I'm either, if I'm not doing the lift, I'm probably taking a break, talking to my friend, going on my phone, doing something that's not actually keeping my heart elevated. That's perfectly fine. We can work with that and we can say, okay, so you're probably spending about 30 minutes of that actual hour with an elevated heart rate. So that's going to put us in that exercise category. Now we can go over to the activity section and see that the only areas where it says exercise is going to be sedentary, light, moderate, and active. So we know we're going to be somewhere in here. So now we would need to find out how many times a week she's working out. So if she tells us, well, on a good week, it's around 3 times, and on a bad week, it's probably around 2 times, then we know we're going to be in this light category because it's exercise and it's for 1 to 3 times a week. So we're going to click that, and then you're going to click calculate. From there, it's going to bring us to this next screen here where we're going to see a lot of beneficial information. One of the first things we're going to notice is that maintenance weight area. This is how many calories you can consume and continue to maintain the weight you're already at. Underneath that, we're going to see three different weight loss categories. One if you want to lose a half a pound a week, the next if you want to lose a pound a week, and the last one is going to be if you want to lose 2 pounds a week. So all this is giving us the calories we need in green based off of what we want to do in gray. Now, underneath that, we have a little disclaimer there where if you're losing 2 or more pounds a week, where you're going to have to consult with a doctor. And honestly, if you ever feel bad about anything or if something just feels off, you should always consult with a doctor. Underneath that, we have a zigzag calorie cycling diet schedule. And this is going to be a topic for another video, so we're not really going to go into too much detail here, but this is something that you could try out. It is a method that some people use and have success with. However, it's not the only method, so again, a topic for another video. So we're going to keep scrolling down. At the bottom here, we're going to have activity level. This is going to be the last thing we talk about on this screen. And it's actually pretty interesting because what we see here is at our maintenance calorie level. So if we're continually take in that maintenance level, here we go, that 2100 calories per day, it shows us what we need to do in the exercise or activity level section to still lose weight. So it's not just telling us that we have to eat less to lose weight. It's also showing us, like I mentioned before in our calorie video, that you can do both. You can start to mix in some of this. Obviously, this is going to take some getting used to, figuring out what's best for you, because not everybody's going to be doing this at the same rates or in the same ways. Okay, so now you can see how using a calorie calculator can give us a better estimate of the amount of calories we should be eating in a day. And with this, we can start to play around with the percentages that I mentioned earlier. Now we can transfer over to our next question. How do we literally track these calories? So one method is the really old school way, which is just pen and paper. And this method requires a lot. You first off have to have a notebook that you put all your information in, and you have to be able to look up stuff on the internet on the fly possibly to understand that this food was this amount of calories or this together was this amount of calories. You have to also be able to do all the math yourself, and possibly you might put it into an Excel doc at the end of the day or end of the week, but it's still a lot of information to put in and file and track. And so honestly, it's a hassle. So I don't prescribe this or I don't suggest this to my clients. I typically tell them to use an app. Now there's a lot of different apps out there and I'm not going to go into any specific one, but I do suggest that you all look through some of the ones that are out there, and I'll leave a link in the description that has a list of some of the more notable ones and possibly some that you haven't heard of as well. The reason I suggest these apps to my clients is because honestly, it makes things a lot easier. And when it comes to weight loss, that's what we're looking for. We want things to be as easy as possible wherever they can be. It has something like barcode scanners where you can just scan your favorite snack really quickly, and then all the information is already right there on the app. It also has menu options of different restaurants that you're already accustomed to going to. And so that meal that you weren't sure how many calories it had, it's already going to be right there, easy for you to look through in the app so you can pick the best option for yourself. Not to mention it does all the math for you. So any averages that you were looking for as far as your total calorie consumption, how many carbs, fats, and proteins you're eating, it has all that there for you. So there's no need to have a long Excel sheet where you put all that information in yourself, or to have a big piece of paper where you've been tracking all that stuff. It literally is going to house all that information there for you, making it so much more simple to keep everything in a small spot and be able to track that stuff that you need to track, especially on the fly. The last thing I'm going to talk about today is, should you track your calories? Now, the reason I bring this up is because there's a lot of people that think there's actually no benefit to it all, or that can actually be harmful to your goal in weight loss. In my opinion, I believe that everybody should track calories at least for a small amount of time in your life. Every client that I've ever had track their calories has gained so much knowledge and has actually been able to help them make healthier and better decisions in the long run, even if it's not what they do every day for the rest of their lives. And trust me, I understand that this is going to take a lot of effort in some shape or form. If you're meal prepping, it's going to take a lot of your time because you have to set up enough time to be able to cook your meals for 3, 5, or 7 days. And if it's ordering from a delivery service, it's going to take more of your money because those are typically pretty pricey. And so I get that there's not an easy solution to this if you're really going to go into this head first. However, if you can't do any of those things, or if none of these things are sticking for you, my last suggestion is to take pictures. Almost everyone has a phone that's capable of taking decent pictures. And so what I'll tell my clients to do is to take a picture, no matter how big or how small, of everything you eat for at least 1 to 3 months. What this does, it gives me information as a trainer to talk about the types of foods they're eating, how often they're eating certain foods, and we can start to have this conversation about, hey, no, you don't eat a lot of food, but when you do eat, it's a lot of snacking. And so that tends to add up as you continue to snack throughout the day. Or the flip side of that, no, you don't eat a lot throughout the day, but when you do eat, it's huge portions, which lead you to being tired whenever you're ready to do something right after you've eaten. There's a lot of different things and a lot of different habits that we can start to pick up from these pictures that doesn't tell us or doesn't help us know how many calories they're eating, but at the very least we can start to give them healthier alternatives to some of the things that they are eating and make healthier suggestions based off of the pictures alone. This, along with understanding the habits that we've had built up that we've also kind of shaded ourselves to, can allow us to have a better and healthier life moving forward. And so, no, I don't think that you have to do this for the rest of your life. It's not really for everybody, but I do think that it can help everybody. Now, with all that out of the way, I wanted to say, yeah, this is a lot of information. But what I hope you do is take some of this stuff and continue to do more research to figure out what's the best option for you. If you have any questions at all, please put those in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer those there. And if you want to continue to see more content like this, please hit that like button and I'll continue to make sure I produce more and more content to serve you guys. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and the bell notification right next to it so you'll be notified when that next video posts. And as always, stay fit, stay educated, be blessed, and I'll see you next time on Vicarious View.